Select one of 7 ferocious dinosaurs, then pound your opponents into submission as you battle for Earth domination.
There's only 6.
Every original arcade fighting and fatality move is at your fingertips.
No, they're not.
Plays just like the arcade game.
This doesn't work in the arcade version.
Spontaneous punch combos.
That isn't... Oh, I guess they got that part right. Primal Rage is an arcade game that would get ported to many consoles. The last time I went over this game was for the Sega Genesis version. In this video, we will be going over the Game Gear version. Now don't let the back cover confuse you. Even though it recycles the same text as the Sega Genesis version, this is not the complete package. The Game Gear cartridge can only hold so much, so a lot of things had to be cut for this port to become possible. This includes stuff like endings, certain attacks and special moves, humans running across the stage, balance mechanics, and most importantly, vertigo. Oh hey Vertigo, sorry about the bad news. Wait, Vertigo, what are you doing? As I said earlier, the Game Gear version removed a lot of things, but I've been advised by my doctor not to go over the specifics. So yeah, here's Primal Rage on the Game Gear. Well, this was unexpected. While this port is missing a lot of things in both the presentation and the gameplay, I'm rather surprised that it has some cool aspects within the fighting itself. It stands out in a way that it can't be compared to the console versions, as it has more of an emphasis on juggle combos instead of grounded combos. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go over the controls first. This is a Game Gear version, so what you see is what you get. The controls are 1, which is quick attack, and 2 is furious attack. Since this game doesn't have proximity normals, that means all characters have a total of 6 normal attacks. But of course, everyone does have access to special moves. To perform them, you will have to hold both buttons and do a motion. Holding these buttons will lock you in place. While that might sound confusing at first, this makes it so you can press up without jumping. Unfortunately, not all special moves are in this version. This ends up severely hurting certain characters, as some don't even have access to a grab. But I can't talk about grabs without mentioning how to block. To block, you hold back. You can block while standing or while crouching. The arcade version had plenty of unblockable attacks, but for this version, they became blockable. Unblockable or not, you still have to block these moves in a specific way, such as Sauron's Earthquake Stomp being a low attack that can't be blocked while standing. As for grabs, they cannot be blocked. Not all characters will have these, and the command required to perform them will vary. The only way to avoid a grab is to be mid-air, hit the opponent before the animation starts, or to move away. Unfortunately, it seems near impossible to avoid grabs while getting up, as one grab can end up deciding the round. This is definitely the case since there seems to be no special move that can beat a grab in this situation. The last thing I should mention is how combos work. In this version, there aren't many combos you can do against a grounded opponent, but if you're able to hit them in the air, you can perform some long juggle combos. These are combos that involve hitting a mid-air opponent to keep them in the air longer. Since each hit will launch the opponent, it's possible to keep them in the air forever. Of course, how possible this is will depend on who you're using. There are more things I want to talk about, but I'll save that for the long play. If you want a full in-depth guide and move list, you can check out the link in the description. Without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, and this is my no-miss run of Primal Rage for the Game Gear. Now, of course, I did have to record this on emulator. I used Fusion, the latest version, as I don't know if there's a way to direct capture with an actual Game Gear, but if there is, that would be awesome. But as of right now, I'm unable to do that, so I have to use emulator for this one. And another thing I should mention is that in this intro story, it was obviously like just ripped from the arcade version. But it's interesting that it shows Vertigo because, yeah, there she is. Because she's not even in this port, and I don't know, it's just a bit weird that like they added that in there. So yeah, Primal Rage on Game Gear. I already talked a lot about it in the intro. There are still a few things I want to talk about during the long play, which I will get into. But yeah, it should start soon. And for this playthrough, I am going to pick Talon because I could pick Blizzard. He's one of the best characters, if not... Actually, he is the best character in this game. But I did want to pick Talon for this playthrough. It was something I was considering doing for the Sega Genesis version because Talon is really fun in that game. Alright, so the options. No messing around, 1 credit, and max difficulty. Now, even though it says 1 credit, that doesn't mean 1 continue. The minute you press start, like, you only get 1 life. If you lose, that's it, the game's over. So, 6 characters. You got Sauron, Talon, Blizzard, Diablo, Armadon, and Chaos. And for this playthrough, I am going to use Talon. And I think I selected a different color by holding, you press and hold button 1, and then you hold one of the 4 directions. And then you press button 2 or start, and you get whichever direction you held. So, if you want to use black and white Talon, you press 1. You press and hold 1, and you hold right, and then you press button 2 or start. Alright, so, what's going on here? For this playthrough, I tried to do some combos. I didn't want to, like... The main emphasis I had was grab loops, which you'll see later. But for some of these matches, I did want to do some, like, combos, like some grounded ones, some juggle combos. I did this playthrough a few days ago, so I don't remember everything, but I do know for sure that I did perform some grab loops. So what's good about Talon in this game? Well, he is probably the most consistent when it comes to grab loops, because when he grabs you, he stays close, like he's able to like get close before you even get up. So when it comes to grab loops, he is the absolute best at it. His combos are decent, I think. He does have like the move where he spins around, it does actually launch the opponent, and you see me do that here and there throughout the playthrough. And yeah, here I go for the grab loop. So what I didn't mention in the intro was the stun meter. You see it under the opponent's health bar, that yellow bar. Stunning enemies in this game is very... I think out of all the Primal Rages, I haven't played the other versions, I only played like the arcade, Sega Genesis, and this version. It is very difficult to stun opponents in this port, and I didn't get to do a fatality in that match, but it's fine, I'm pretty sure I do it in the rest. And the reason is because the stun meter regenerates way too fast, like, it just goes up way... How can I put it this way? Stunning someone in one combo is impossible, you can't do it. Like, even if you do an infinite juggle combo, it just won't happen because of the scaling. And by scaling, I mean that the longer a combo goes on, the less damage you deal. And it gets to the point where the stun meter regenerates before, like it goes down a bit, but then it just regenerates back, so... Stunning opponents is hard in this game because you have to land like single strikes or like very small combos, like very fast, back to back, and then you'll be able to stun the opponent. I don't even know if I was able to stun someone in this playthrough. Maybe I did, hopefully that happens. But yeah, if you do get stunned, you have to mash left and right to recover. And I guess I didn't really mention it in the intro because, at least for the matches I had with others, it rarely happens. Like, usually it just ends in like an infinite juggle combo or a grab loop. Alright, so Blizzard. Really OP. I think he is the best character in this game, and it's simply due to his freeze breath. And that when he freezes you, he can punch into another freeze. And the reason why that's so good is because, unlike the console versions, which had like a no cheese where you couldn't freeze someone twice in a combo, because that doesn't exist, he can keep freezing. He can keep freezing someone over and over. And due to the fatality here, again, the move list is in the guide I made in the description. Talon's fatality is you hold both buttons and you press forward, down, back, and up. Or in my case, since I was facing right, you press right, down, left, up. And everyone in this game has one fatality, whereas the Genesis version, everyone had 2. And in the arcade version, I think everyone has 3. If we're talking about the latest version, of course. What else is there to mention? Right, Chaos. This game's going by really fast. I thought it took way longer, but I guess not. I think Chaos is really solid in this game. He has some pretty good tools. I don't think he really has a grab loop, but his juggle combos is really great. I think he has the best juggle combos in this game. And the reason is because he has a tackle. It makes him do a charge forward. And what's so good about it is that it's a launcher, so not only does it like start up the launch combos and like you can go for juggle combos after, but you can also use it during juggles. Like you do the charge, then you hit them with a jab, and then you do another charge to keep them in the air. So when it comes to juggles, Chaos is the best at them. At least in my opinion from what I've played so far. And yeah, for a lot of this playthrough, you're going to be seeing grab loops because Okay, look. Let's face it. When it comes to fighting games, the CPU is screwed up. All right, like not all of them. There are some games like for example, the last guide I did on Samurai Showdown. There are some games where you face a CPU and it's kind of fun and interesting. Like it's not like the hardest thing ever. Like you can do some cool combos. You can like they'll make a move and then you can try to punish them for it. But this is Midway. This is Primal Rage, and if you know anything about the Genesis version with that game's AI, oh my god, it's not fun. Like that's the best way I can put it. Maybe if you put it on like difficulty 1, it might be fine. But if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, it's just like they love reading your inputs. And thankfully, to some extent, the Game Gear version, the CPU isn't the worst thing ever. Like I don't think it's that bad. At least if you know how the game works. At least compared to the Genesis version, because that version, oh man, I had to like when I played Druid with Vertigo, I just had to practice on every single opponent to realize what they were weak to, and trying to do a run of that is just not that fun. Like it's alright, it can be enjoyed, but like it's just there's just no reason to play on the hardest difficulty. Don't do it to yourself. Like unless you really want to see the special bonus at the end. Alright, Armadon. I think he's average, he's pretty good. In the tier list, I did put him in the middle. I'll probably put that up after this match. Probably right now, just for a brief moment. But, I think Armadon's alright. He has a good projectile. He doesn't really have a launcher that, like he does have Beto nails, in which he curls up like a porcupine and extends his horns, his spikes, I should say. But that's mostly used as an anti-air because you have to be really close for it to land, and his juggle combos are alright. I think he does have a really good grab. It's really great. I think when I fought the CPU, I haven't got to practice this myself. I really do want to... I probably should have did that before recording this, honestly. But I saw the CPU do his grab, and he comboed after it. And I'm like, wait, what? You can do that? So I'm definitely going to try that out later to see if that can lead into like an easier grab loop or even like a juggle combo. Because I saw that happen, I was like, whoa, like that's really cool. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why I like facing CPUs and like in general, because a lot of the stuff I found out, like at least I want to say plenty of the stuff I found out in certain fighting games, like I think like this one, I think Power Instinct the CPU did something that was really cool, and like I wanted to try that myself. What else was there? Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that like the CPU can teach you some stuff, and it's really cool to see. That's why if you're ever just starting out on a game where you're trying to explore it, you'd be surprised how much you can find out just by playing against the CPU on the hardest difficulty. So yeah, that's Armadon. He is pretty decent. Diablo. I think he's the worst character in the game. I'm gonna be real. And the reason is because he has no grabs, no launcher, and he pretty much, if he wants to win off of one oh, look at this juggle combo, beautiful. I didn't know I got like an 8-hit combo on this run. But if you want to win with Diablo, you pretty much have to like... The opponent has to make like a big mistake. There's no other way to put it. You could try zoning them, I guess. But if he's facing Blizzard or Talon and they get close, like if he gets frozen by Blizzard or Talon knocks him down, the match is just done. Like there's really nothing Diablo can do about it unless they drop the combo. And that's why I think he's like one of the worst, because like he has some good ground combos, don't get me wrong. He can do a lot of damage with the right combo, but at that point just pick like Talon or Blizzard. Like you're really just handicapping yourself if you're picking Diablo. And you know what? The same can kind of be said about Sauron. He has a decent projectile. His Earthquake Stomp is... I mean, it's a launcher, but you can block it low or you can jump, so... I'm not sure, outside of like either stunning the opponent or maybe they whiffed a very unsafe move. I can't see Sauron ever landing Earthquake Stomp. It's just way too risky. But what else does Sauron have? Oh, you know what? I will say this about Sauron and Diablo. What's really cool about them is that they have projectiles, and if they can get a juggle combo somehow... Oh wow, I did get a stun in this long play. Cool. But if Sauron and Diablo can get a juggle started, for example, like maybe Sauron lands Earthquake Stomp or the opponent jumps in and Diablo anti-airs them with like jab, or I should say quick attack. If they can get a juggle started, they can juggle with button 1, like stand 1, and once they get the opponent in the corner, they can keep spamming their projectiles and just keep them in the air forever. And I think in that case, like that's where they shine, is when they get that anti-air. Like that's when they're at their best. But in my opinion, I think Sauron and Diablo are the worst characters in the game. Alright, final stage. And for the entirety of this... For the rest of this playthrough, I am just spamming grab loops. And there's a good reason for this, trust me. If you don't know, the final stage in Primal Rage is a gauntlet in which you have to face all of the characters in one life bar. Now in the console versions, this is fine because there's actually a bonus stage before this where you eat humans, like your worshippers, and you use that to like build up a second life bar. And yeah, like it's not as bad trying to get through on one life. Now here's the thing. Obviously this is a no miss run, so I can't afford to screw up, but there is no bonus stage. Like there's no like, oh, you're eating worshippers, because they're not in this version. So what you get is a gauntlet where you have to face 6 opponents in a row on one life bar. And because I put the credits to 1, if I die once, that's it, the game is over. Now if you do have the credits set to like 2 or more, when you use a continue, it actually respawn you right there, like with full health, and you'll be able to keep fighting, so it's not like you have to do all of this in like one life. Of course that's not my case, but I do get through this thankfully. And yeah, another thing I should mention is that, as you can see from this fight, for each enemy, whenever the next enemy comes in, they come in with some kind of like attack. So for Armadon, he did that weird overhead thing. In the console version, it's unblockable, like that you have to avoid, but in this version, it's just a high attack you can block. Chaos, he came in with the Power Puke and the Ground Stomp. That's probably the worst attack to avoid. It's very annoying. Like, you could just like try to crouch block both, but it's really messy on where he lands. Like, unless you know where he's landing, then it's easy. Sauron, he comes in with Earthquake Stomp. You can either block it low or just jump in case you don't know which direction he's coming from. Diablo, he comes in with his Inferno Flash. I don't think it hits when he spawns in, so you can actually try to get a grab on him when that happens. So he's probably the easiest to deal with since like it's not actually an attack. And coming up is either Blizzard or Talon, and their attacks aren't too bad to avoid. So, alright, there's Blizzard. He comes in with the Frost Breath, but unlike Chaos, he doesn't come in with a second attack at the same time. So as long as you block it or jump over it, you should be good. And Talon comes in with one of his worst moves in the game, and I'll explain that once that happens. Alright, so yeah, so far I'm doing pretty good here. I actually, for this game, it took me 3 or 4 attempts to do this. Like, in each attempt, really, it was just me losing in this specific battle, because you only get 1 life bar, and like, I had situations where I lost too much health on one opponent, then the next one defeated me. Alright, so yeah, the last opponent is Talon. He does that move, which is just awful because it's Brain Basher, it's an overhead that you can block high. Even if it hits and they didn't block, I think it might be minus on hit because the opponent can act while you're on the way down, and it's not like the console or the arcade versions where you can attack on the way down. It's just you do it and like hope for the best. So yeah, I think that move is pretty awful. And unfortunately, Talon does have a thing where he jumps forward when he gets up, so it's very easy to grab loop him. And yeah, that was Primal Rage on Sega Genesis. Talon conquers, and you are master of New Earth. So, it's time for the ending. Oh wait, that's right, in the intro I said there are no endings. So, yeah, unfortunately, this game doesn't have endings. I am going to, I did put my name in here, but no matter how much of a high score you get, or if you get through it without losing a round, or without losing any health, there's nothing special waiting for you at the end. Even if, you know, despite the fact that in this playthrough I played on the hardest difficulty and didn't lose once. So yeah, that's it. Even if you played on easy, like on difficulty 1 of max credits, you still get the same thing. So I guess if you want to play it on hard you can, but you really don't have to. So what can I say about this game? I like it. I think for a portable version of Primal Rage, it's pretty fun. I was not expecting it to have some really like cool juggle combos or whatnot. I thought it'd just be like, you know, decent, like they tried their best with what they could. But yeah, for a Game Gear game, it's surprisingly fun. Like, I enjoyed it a lot. I can't see myself ever going back to this, like, constantly, but for what it is an enjoyable game. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and with that said, I'll see you later.